Stats SA saying that Cape Town added nearly 97,000 new residential units between 2014 and 2023, the most of any other South African city. It includes 38,000 flats, 5,000 townhouses, and 52,000 freestanding homes. Joburg, on the other hand, only added 40,000 units in the same period. But listen to this, while Cape Town has added 38,000 flats or apartments, only 553 in Joburg. But that city does have the highest number of townhouses and cluster homes. That's about 21,000 units that have been built. Of course, Cape Town being geographically restricted by the mountain and the sea, you then also have the sprawl and abundant land in Gauteng. Is this what causes the disparity? Joining me now on the line is Francois Viruly, is a property economist and a professor at the University of Cape Town. Good morning, Francois. Really appreciate your time. Is it mostly to do about space and access to land that that Cape Town is becoming more densified while Joburg is becoming more sprawling?
I think it really has an impact. But I think, first of all, with the positive news is that we're building. And we know that, and I've just heard it from your previous interview, finding an apartment block that is affordable in Cape Town, there's nothing easy about it. So, yes, we're building more. Is it having an impact on the property market? Well, property prices don't suggest it's having a major impact. But I think what you're raising here is an important point, and that is, yes, we don't have land here, which therefore means that the levels of densities in Cape Town is rising. But I suppose the question, Lester, that we do need to ask ourselves is, who are we building for?
That's right.
And where are we building?
Yeah.
Because we know the problem in the CBD, for example. Yes, we probably got more apartments. Because the values are high, because the developers are able to actually do it. But I think that's what we can unpack a bit.
Okay, so 38,000 new flats over the last 10 years. But we also know that Cape Town has about 30,000 Airbnb listings. So when we see high-rises and apartment complexes going up, are they particularly being advertised? Here's a little handy investment. Buy an apartment unit and rent it out for Airbnb. Is Airbnb quite physically, literally changing the property landscape?
No. Listen, I think that if we look at the Cape Town market, we have two markets. We have one market, which is a function of people's income. You can afford about 30% of your income, which you can spend on rentals. And then we have another market. And that is exactly the investment market that you're talking about. It's exactly the Airbnb. And that has its own fundamentals. It's not a function of income. It's a function of the exchange rate, how profitable it is to enter the housing market. If you are a foreigner, there's little debt funding. And I think on top of that, we're building apartments. But what is starting to happen in Cape Town is that many of the developments are coming up with one-bedroom apartments. Why? Because one-bedroom apartment works very well for Airbnb.
It's called the apart hotel concept, where your one-bedroom flat looks very much like the inside of a hotel room.
But the issue is we're not building 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom flats for families. So the sort of typology that we're building, yes, we are building flats. We are converting offices into residential. But then it comes back to the question, who are we building that for? And I think that's where it becomes interesting, is that you can build and still find yourself in a scenario where 80% of Cape Town households earn less than 22,000 rand, which means you can probably buy for about 700 to 800,000 rands. Well, there are not many flats being built at the moment, which 80% of Cape Townians could afford.
Well, 97,000 new residential units over the last 10 years. Let's just look at the flats. The flats, 38,000. The mayor says we need more supply to deal with the property and rental cost issue. Rentals go up by have gone up about 19%.
Yeah.
Salaries only by 4%. So we're building the units, almost 100,000 new households over the last 10 years, but we still aren't seeing any real dent when it comes to how much people are paying. And I know the housing issue is complex. You have people waiting on waiting lists, you're talking about low income, but for many people, when they're talking about the rental market, they're talking about generally middle income young professionals hoping to go on their own.
Yeah, so of course Cape Town is growing. I think the level of urban growth in Cape Town is higher than we've seen in many other places. But I think that, and we must remember that, in Cape Town, we got 4.7 million people. 1.7 live in informal settlements. About 30% of Cape Town, are not even close to this market. So what we're really seeing is that people are not managing to move onto the housing ladder, not even on the first step. And then we have these gaps in the market. So I think the point that is starting to materialize here is that we are building, but we're building far away from people's places of work. We are building. We're not building enough close to our CBDs and where the employment opportunities are. So yes, we can bravely say yes. We're building in Cape Town, but as you rightly said, we're still seeing property prices rising. It's good that we're building. But I think that what we're seeing, and especially I come back to the point that we're building for a very specific market at the moment.
A quick question here on infrastructure. A densified city, more and more people, we're living on top of one another. Is the city keeping up in bulk infrastructure, water, sewage?
Look, I think that the most important thing that is coming to the fore now is that if we're going to build, we need infrastructure. So even in Gauteng, that's why the point was made by the stats in numbers that townhouses are being built, because you can build out. Yes and no. You've got to more and more focus on the areas where infrastructure is available. And where is infrastructure available? Often in and around the inner city. So you've got that in the cities where you do have a level of infrastructure, but when you start building there, you are pricing yourself out of the market very quickly of what the average household in Cape Town could actually afford. But I think you're quite right. I think the answer must ultimately be on densification, and land prices are at a level in the Cape Town urban environment that you have to start building at a much higher density than you have in the past. Otherwise, it's a point I've made previously, we end up with a 40 by 40 by 40 problem, 40 square meter house, 40 kilometers away, spend 40% of your income on transport.
My final question was something that we've been talking about earlier. We're seeing fewer and fewer property developments offering parking, or you maybe get 2 parking spots. Now you get 1, if at all. Is this deliberate? Is this the market also forcing a city to plan? We need to have walking environments, no more cars in our buildings.
I think the first point I want to make here is that we are, for example, in Cape Town, we're converting a fair amount of office into residential units. One always has to remember, first of all, that an office environment is not a residential environment. The moment you start playing high density, people are going to live small, so then you better provide the parks, the places where people can go out, the urban environment. You've got to get that urban environment very right as people start entering flats. And some of those flats are getting small. I mean, I've seen about 17 square meters, 4 steps by 3 steps.
Okay, Francois Viruly, really appreciate your time. A property economist, also teaches at the University of Cape Town.